All right, listeners. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. I'm not kidding. I looked around on many websites trying to figure it all out, and I was so intimidated. Then I found this site, and it just came easy. It has everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has the tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Who doesn't like free? All right, so here's what you have to do. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. What's up? How's it going?
Hello.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Days Go By podcast. I am your host, Chad, and I am joined tonight by a lovely little lady. How you doing?
Mrs. Day.
Mrs. Day.
Hi. You know, I'm doing all right. It's been an interesting few weeks.
It has. A lot going on.
Yeah. I'm ready for everybody to be healthy.
Yeah.
And I really shouldn't be tired because I've been taking care of the girls who've been sick, but I haven't been out like on the route like you, working your tail off and then coaching, and you're doing all the things. So I'm not even going to complain. I'm just ready for everyone to be healthy. I'll just say that.
That's just an extra added layer to everything whenever the girls are sick compared to everything else we do. And this isn't a sympathy story about everything that we do. A lot of people do a lot of stuff, and you're looking at your fingers right now because they're peeling.
You guys, seriously, I am so over the hand, foot, mouth. It's been like at least 3 weeks since I've had it, or since the beginning of it, and my fingers and my feet are peeling, and it's disgusting. I feel like a snake or a lizard who's like shedding its skin.
Yeah.
It's pretty gross, and I just feel dirty.
Well, I don't feel dirty anymore. I mean, I'm past that point, but overwhelmed is definitely one of those feelings that I would say, just based on everything that's going on and all the sports and work. And like I told Paula, I said, we're doing so many things right now. I'm doing so many things that I just don't feel like that I'm doing anything great. I feel like I'm just kind of half-assed in everything that I'm doing, but yeah, it's just part of it, and you get through it.
For what it's worth, you're doing a really great job at coaching.
Thank you.
Because that's what I watch you do most of the time, and I think you're doing a great job with that. So keep up the good work.
Well, you're doing a great job.
Just don't get sick.
Okay.
You're not allowed to get sick.
I won't get allowed.
So hopefully my scaly skin won't turn you away from this marriage.
For the record, I don't care. And it's funny you bring up marriage. I don't care if you have scaly skin or you haven't shaved your legs in a while. It doesn't matter again to me. So this topic, I'm going to call it How to Lose a Marriage in 10 Years.
Oh.
Clever, right? Mm-hmm. One of our favorite movies.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Right. But I figured if you lost your marriage in 10 days, then... I feel bad for anybody that has happened to. I hope that is a low number of people. But no, I didn't think that there was a possibility of doing a possible episode on that. So I did 10 years instead. Do you want to hear about some of our listeners and how long they've been married?
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, because I did that post on Facebook just today, and we had quite a few people. So I'm just going to kind of go over that. So Chelsea, her and her husband, 14 years. Congratulations. Debbie wrote in. So she's been 2 marriages. The first marriage was 22 years. The second was 15. And she has been widowed by both of them.
That would be so hard.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's heartbreaking.
Crystal chimed in, not to go forward from that. Sorry, Debbie. Mm-hmm. Crystal chimed in. First marriage, 12 years. And the second marriage, which has been the better from it seems, is 8 years. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
Bethany was the first one that put a little bit of a half in it. 17 and a half years. Congratulations. Sounds very familiar
Yep.
and similar to us.
Right there.
Audra, 3 years. Steve, 26 years.
Wow.
Laura, 21. Lee, 22. Host of the UUOP podcast. We got Dan. Everybody should know Dan if you've listened to any of our past podcasts. 14 years. We were 14 now.
Wow.
I believe I was in that wedding.
You were. You spoke a lot in that wedding, too.
Austin says 3, although he said this November. So he rounded up. He cheated a little bit, but almost 3. Our number 1 that we saw was Steve Ellis.
Oh, yeah.
41 years.
Wow.
This one's interesting. So our good friend Jeremy. I'm going to count this as 17 years. His story is a little unique. The way he wrote it was his first one was from 2005 to 2016. And then his second was from 2017 until present time to the same woman.
Yeah. So I think that all counts.
It all counts as just one. I don't even care about the little breakup.
Yeah.
I mean,
We all
good
have
on 'em.
rough patches.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We had Nicole that chimed in 2 years. She had a COVID wedding, so I kind of asked how that went, and that would be really interesting. It seems like she did have a pretty good turnout. Obviously, some people didn't show up, but 2 years, good job. And then we had Claire who wrote in. She said 0.
Oh.
Yeah, see, she said she's, I forgot what she said. Something like no one has, wanted to marry her. I'm like, yeah, I find that hard to believe. So Claire's looking for an eligible bachelor.
That perfect fit.
Yeah. So
That person
definitely.
is out there. Don't give up.
Yep.
Don't give up.
Agreed. So, okay. So I went on this, I started doing some research on this, and I went on this one website, and I think it was like wflawyers.com, and I saw some stats. So I'm going to go over them with you. Starting, it said almost 50% of marriages end in divorce or separation. I think we've heard that number before.
Yeah.
But when you really start to think about it, 50% of marriages.
So if you think of like 6 or 8 couples we know, so half of those couples will end in divorce.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah, it sucks. So out of those 50%, 41% are first marriages, and this is where I was really surprised. 60% are second marriages
Wow.
of divorce rates, and 73% are third marriages.
Gosh, I don't even think I'd try a third time.
No. I feel like if you ever divorce me, I don't want to try a second time because I already had the greatest there was. That's where you're supposed to say, "Oh, I love you too." No, the reason that
I gave you the eye roll, but yeah,
I know. You're supposed to be in love.
because you've said that a million times. We've had this talk a million times.
But no one else has listened to it, so
That's
just
true.
pretend that you love me a lot. I was surprised by this because I would think that the rate would go down, because you would kind of assume.
You think you'd be more experienced?
Yes, you would kind of assume like after the first marriage, you're like, okay, I realized all this shit that I don't want to be with.
Right.
But then it does seem like it's actually the opposite. The more you continue to go on.
But what if it's out of your hands? Like, what if that person wrongs you somehow and it's not your fault, and then you realize you just want to get out of it?
Then you should get out of it. I mean, we can start right there.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah, get out of it.
I don't think there's any shame, and we've said that many times. That's been a big part of our podcast. Is you should feel no shame. Like, no one's being judged. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If you're not getting along anymore, or if someone was a big old piece of shit to you, or they're cheating on you in plenty of other things, yeah, get out. Who cares? Move on. But that's why I was surprised that it does seem like for those that did move on, the rate of being divorced actually goes up. I was surprised. So, a few other things. So the United States, well, I'll let you guess. How would you guess that the country with the highest rate of divorce, how would you think the United States ranks?
Pretty high, probably.
Yeah. They were sixth highest. I thought we'd be number one. We were sixth highest. Do you want to take a guess on the average length of marriage? Like how many years?
4 years?
8.
Oh.
Which is going to be kind of... It's kind of
It's like
going to
that
go hand in
7-year
hand with
itch
this
and-
10-year thing that we got going on. And then the average age for your first divorce, 30. We made it. Because I'm almost 40. We did it.
I'm almost 42. 40 also, not 42. I'm 40, almost 40, kind of.
So we're going to go through this kind of in little blocks here, and we're going to talk about years 1 through 2 to start. And when I looked this up online, this was high risk, which I kind of thought was a little odd because, in my opinion, years 1 and 2 is definitely those honeymoon stage where everything's fun, everything's fresh, you're excited. I don't really know how you could really screw it up in those first year or two. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that you're definitely in the honeymoon stage. I think maybe a lot of it could have to do with your ages too. I mean, like we were both really young when we got married. I was 19 and Chad was 21, right? 19,
I
20?
think
No, 22.
Yep.
You were 22.
19
3
and
years.
22. Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, we were both really young. I especially hadn't experienced a whole lot of things, but yeah, I mean, we were both, yeah, definitely. It was honeymoon stage. Like it just was easy. We didn't have kids at the time. We just had our jobs and each other, and we did road trips and just all the fun things.
Had a whole lot of fun. And I guess like in our experience, and you're definitely right, it's different strokes for different folks, but we were just so excited and having fun. And
I mean, I think we called each other like Mr. and Mrs. Day all the time, or, you know, you're just like, you call each other all those like love names, babe. I mean, we still call each other babe. I guess that's like the biggest thing that we've kind of stuck with. We don't say that as much as we used to, but we don't really call each other any other cutesy names. And I think that's great if you all have those kind of names for each other. But we've just never really been that into that. But we did kind of for a while, like, it'll be so weird to call you my husband, or so weird to call you Mrs. Day. And so all of that, it was just exciting. It was just exciting to think of starting your life together. You know, Chad had a house already for us, so that was really cool. Like, you're just getting to play house and just all the things coming together. You get to the holidays, and yeah, it was great.
you're right, honey boo boo. Yeah,
Boo.
and I do want to clarify, like, a lot of this that we're talking about tonight is going to be kind of our personal experience. Obviously, this can range from everybody. Can be different. I'm sure there's lots of people that have a really tough time those first 2 years. I'd say for us, not so much, just because we were so excited and young and fun, and yeah, it was a good time. But we
were social. We did have friends, and we were very outgoing. I want to say that I think that throughout a lot of our marriage, there's been some sort of like temptations, I feel like.
I don't think that'll...
For us.
Yeah, sure.
So, and so we've handled that a lot differently. How do I say it? We've handled it better than... I mean, we haven't always handled it. I mean, I have not always handled it that great.
We've handled it like shit at every stage that we're probably going to be talking about here today.
Most of the time, I've handled it pretty crappy.
Yeah, I think you just said that very truthfully, and thank you for saying that. And I agree with you. And that's part of what we're here to talk about too. I mean, we're not really holding back much. Just to let all of you know, if you are listening, that it's okay. You talk about it and you figure it out, or you don't. That's just part of the game.
I have to say, we have, through all of the downs that we've had, there's always been something learned, and there's something really special that you and I have, and no matter what it is that we've gone through, I feel like somehow we have always held on to that. I mean, I don't remember what year it was, but I remember the year that we were really struggling. And I think I stayed at a friend's house for a few nights, and your dad met me. Your dad was still with us, and he met me at our house, and he was just talking to me, having a heart-to-heart with me. And, and right then I knew, like, no, there's something to hang on to. Like, I can't just give up.
I don't think I actually remember this.
Yeah.
My dad.
I don't know if you knew he taught. I don't know if he told you, or I don't know if I told you about that. But yeah, he came and we had a good talk.
That sounds like something my dad would have done, and that's a cool thing.
Well, your dad really liked me even through the crappy times when I was not great to you, and I think that he knew how much you cared for me, and he just wanted to see us both happy, and I think deep down he knew that was us together. No,
I remember when we were going through our tough times, and I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. He was encouraging me to, talk it out with you and just try to figure it out. So that was a cool thing. I'd say, in thinking about it, was probably one of the best parenting moments that my dad ever had was through those times, which was weird because he went through divorces and plenty of women. And so it's just kind of weird that was one of those moments where he stepped up. But thanks, Dad. Not that you're listening.
He is from afar.
So the next block of time is the years 3 through 4. When I looked this up, it said that this was more of the average risk. But I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, 3 to 4, so the honeymoon's over, right? I kind of felt like this is the time when you're really getting to know your partner. That may be tough for a lot of people because, like we said, in those first 2 years, when everything's just fun and exciting, and you're going out to bars or you're going on vacations and you're just having all that good time. But then reality sinks in and you're like, okay, I got to really get to know this person. And I would assume a lot of people try to get to know each other and they don't want to put in the time. And then they realize, and this wasn't the case for us, but I'm just kind of, in everything that I read and was looking at it, like maybe they didn't really want to get to know each other on that level. So,
and I think so for us, I mean, 4 years in, then that's when I turned 21. So when Chad and I first got married, we knew that we didn't want to try to start having kids until after I turned 21, just because we wanted to experience that. So if we had any control over that, we were just trying to hold off for at least that amount of time. And so I turned 21 and we got to experience going out and the nightlife, and we had a lot of fun. I mean, it was really great. But so I think for me personally, and I don't know if I've ever really told you this, but so growing up and stuff, I was always pretty shy and just pretty reserved and not super outgoing. But, since I met you, and then just growing into my adulthood and turning 21, and in my career at the time, I was working at a bank. And so just I learned a lot of customer service skills, a lot of dealing with the public. So I had to kind of become more outgoing. And so, as we got to go out more and just be around more people and stuff and talk to more people, I, in a selfish way, I guess you could say, I just really liked the attention, and it felt good. And not saying that you weren't giving me the attention, because you have always given me plenty of attention. But I don't know. It just felt good. It felt great. And I kind of just went with it. And that's kind of where I think we ran into some problems for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely, it's perfect transition, because the one thing that I was going to say is you start to put others before your spouse.
Yeah.
So kind of
friendships or
right.
career.
And what you said is, I think the majority of people at a young age, they're just looking for attention, and especially like people like you and I, to where we didn't go to high school together. I think that we had friends and we had our groups, but I would say for me, and I think you're kind of the same, we were always seeking more. And I think most people in general are seeking more. They're always wanting the approval of others. And I think that's normal at a young age. That's something that can come with being a little bit older, to realizing you don't need that anymore. But yeah, I mean, for me, for sure, it was, I didn't have all of the approval that I wanted from either family or friends or peers when I was at a young age. And then we do get to a point out of high school to where, yeah, you start getting approval and from other people that you didn't think that you were going to get before, and some older, some younger.
I was going to say all kinds of people, and there's nobody in particular. It's all kinds of people, older,
right,
younger. It didn't matter. Like, it was just like, it was just, I don't know. It was just great. I don't know how else to explain it, but thinking back, it's like, I wish I would have been more humble.
But there is a part of it that's great, because in high school, it's very cliquey. When you get out of high school, none of that stuff matters anymore. All that shit's thrown out the window. You know, you can be friends with whoever you want to be. It doesn't matter if you're a skater or if you're a athlete or a quote unquote nerd. I mean, it doesn't matter anymore. You're an adult now, and you get to hang out with whoever you want to hang out with, as long as you're vibing with them. And that is one of the cool things, but it can definitely cause some problems for sure. And then, you know, I guess around year 3 or 4, now this can vary. For us, it wasn't necessarily the case, but some people start to think about expanding their family.
Well, quickly we learned. I turned 21. We're having a lot of fun, and we're like, we said we start trying when I turn 21. Are you ready? Because I'm not ready.
No.
And we both agreed.
Thank God.
Thankfully.
Thank God that we didn't. And I've said many times, it'd be super hard. If we would have been that age and had kids when we were going through that stage, when you were first 21 and we were going out every single night.
I mean, I think we would have adjusted, obviously, if it would have happened. But I think it would have been hard. I agree with you. It would have been really, really difficult.
We wouldn't have been able to adjust like we did 6 or 7 years down the road. But typically, from everything that I was reading, you know, year 3 to 4 for most marriages is when they start having families.
That makes sense if you get married at like 30. Like what you tell our girls. You're not allowed to get married till you're 30.
I do think that there could be a benefit to that. I know it sounds silly. While we're on that subject, like, I don't think there's a perfect age. And the studies kind of show that too, because it doesn't matter if you're 19 like you were, or if you're 45, like, you still got to figure shit out. You still have to grow together. I will say that obviously you do a lot of your changing from, you know, 20 to 30, 20 to 35. Like, the person that you are, especially, I'll speak for me, the dipshit that I was at 20 compared to where I was at 35 is a world of difference.
You've grown into a very, very
awesome man. Okay, awesome, you said awesome man. Awesome. That's what I heard. But I think
when you're older, though, too, like if you're in your 40s, 50s, that you're already set in your ways.
Well, shit, I am so set in my ways.
I mean, are you going to be open to change?
To be fair and to be honest, I guess, I would be open for no change.
Like, if you're just head over heels for this new woman, I mean, if she wanted you to, I don't even know, get up and go hike the mountain with her every morning, would you make that change and do that for her?
No. If you died and for some reason there was a woman that was pining all over me, which isn't going to happen. But in this weird case scenario that it'd actually be worse because there would be no give from me. And I know that's horrible, but I like who I am.
I feel like I have introduced new things to you, and
ditto. And I feel like I have introduced new things to you too.
Absolutely.
But I would not be willing to do that again.
But we already are familiar with each other, and we know the chances of. I mean, you know how you can persuade me. For the record, most people can persuade me to do just about anything. I feel like I'm that like vulnerable. Like you tell me a white lie, and I'll believe it, and I'm so gullible.
One of your weaknesses.
Yes, it's a huge weakness, and that's because I want, especially if it's like a great thing. I try to see the best in people and want to make them happy, and just that classic people pleaser. And
just please me.
Well, I try my best.
All right, back to so try to think back, and we've seen this before, we've heard this before. When you're trying to start a family, sometimes the scenario is the couple's they're having issues. They're starting to fight, and they're thinking, let's have a baby that's going to make everything better.
We did not think that.
No, we didn't. But I'm sure that there's many listeners, there's many people that did think that.
Yeah. And I could see how maybe they think it'd bring them together.
Do you think that now? I could see that
no, I don't think that.
No. Listen,
but I can see how people
might.
If
there's anybody listening and you're going through this right now and you're having a hard time with your marriage and you're thinking,
maybe I should have a baby or I'll get pregnant to keep my husband with me.
No.
Don't do that.
Because that makes shit way harder.
Yeah.
I know you've heard this. I'm not going to pound it into your head. No. Having a child will make everything harder. Your marriage harder, your life harder, your money less. Everything gets harder. Okay? Don't assume that will magically bring you back together and you'll have this beautiful little baby, which it will be beautiful.
Yes,
maybe not in everybody's eyes, but in your eyes.
There will be many great things, but Chad is 110%
it will make it more
correct.
Difficult. So please do not think that is going to be something that happens, because there's so many things that are going to happen after that. And
oh boy.
I mean, lack of sleep, sex will go out the window. Obviously, there will be different reasons. Women have to go through many things during pregnancy and all of that. So we're not going to go too much into that, but just give that a little bit of thought. Maybe just if you are having problems, try to work that shit out before you have children.
Yeah, be in a good place. Talk about what you think parenting would be like. That's
a good idea.
Think of different scenarios.
But even in that, I
mean, because we had those conversations and then real life happens and we're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You're saying you don't want this, but I do. So how do we meet in the middle?
Yeah, and that's another thing too. You might have all these great thoughts about what it's going to be like when you have your children, but it is good to talk about it and to have some basic plans on how you want to parent. That's a great idea, but just know that at any point that can be thrown out the window and a curveball can come your way and you have no idea how you're going to figure that out.
There's so many different scenarios. There really are, we could go on and on about that probably. But I think for us, when we had a rough patch, at least for me personally, I never thought at the time that, okay, we should have a baby now. No. If anything, I think we took a trip. We decided, okay, let's take a trip. Do you remember when we took our cruise? And that was okay, we're going to do this and see where this takes us. And then I think we got back and we decided not too long after that we were going to move out of state. That was pretty close. And we didn't have any kids yet still, and we were at a point in our lives to where I was wanting a career change, and we just felt like we needed there was a pivot point that we needed to take a leap of faith. And I was born and raised in Southern Oregon. I had never lived anywhere else. I thought, you know what, it's time. Let's move. So we moved out of state to where Chad is from, which is Missouri. And we lived there for a year, and that was a really cool experience. We got to spend some time with his family, see some new country, experience some new things. I quickly got homesick after 4, 5, 6 months, maybe. But I think that was a pivotal time in our marriage that probably saved us. And we weren't running from our problems or anything like that, but we just needed a fresh start.
And that was 4 years in to our marriage, just as a point of reference.
Yes.
So that's just,
Remember you got to work at the factory and all those, we experienced
we just
a whole lot
got to
of
kind
stuff.
of start fresh, like you said,
Yeah.
start new in a new area.
We got to focus on each other because we got caught up with career, friends, attention, all of those things that we lost sight of us. I think, at least I did.
Yeah, I think it was a good point for us. Yeah. So the next stage, we're doing years 5 through 8. This is considered high risk, basically, from what I see.
So we had babies during high risk.
We did. Which I would say, in full honesty, other than years 1 and 2, each one of these stages that we're talking about tonight, Paul and I have had issues. We have had temptation. And that, I will say, I think, and you can give me your opinion, but I think temptation, it would be number 1 in all of these. And I think that could be at any age that you're at. What did your throat just do? That was so, it was like a Wookiee.
Did you hear that? Like a frog in my throat.
Weird.
I'm sorry. Bodily functions.
Sheesh. So
yes, temptation,
this is
100%.
Years
always.
5 through 8. You've heard this before, the 7-year itch.
That's when we had Sophie.
Yep. And the problems didn't just magically clear up, as we said in the other year.
But we moved back from Missouri. The reason we moved back, we only lasted a year there. We moved back because we were ready to start a family, or at least try. We wanted to start trying. And we knew that this is where we wanted to raise a family, was here in Southern Oregon. So that was about year 7 for us. But yeah, our problems did not magically disappear. No,
we moved back right into the same house that we were in before. And then we lived there for a little bit, and then had a new house built. But, you have new houses built and you get new careers. And luckily we were able to move back to Oregon, get careers that we're still at today. None of that fixes it. You still continue to have to work. And if you don't, then it's going to end, plain and simple. But in those 5 to 8 years, one thing that I was looking at, and this kind of makes sense, like as your kids start to grow and they become more self-sufficient, then it makes a lot of parents feel that it's easier to leave, like if they're having hard times, to divorce. And it kind of makes sense because, I would imagine every parent feels guilty when their baby is really young. You don't want to leave their baby. Not that you want to leave your kid at any point, but I could see, I guess, why that is. You feel like your kid is able to start doing more, and then you're like, well, okay, we've had these problems for 2-3 years. Now the kids are able to do more. Let's end this. So I could kind of see that. That's one thing that I read. The other thing that I read is desires of cheating increase, secrets, cheating, and then communication, of course. Communication is one of those things from the very beginning to the end. You hear that all the time too, but I think communication can definitely start to get worse and worse the older you get. And I think that the minute that you become too comfortable is the minute that you're going to have problems. And
I think that's why I've gotten so paranoid over the years, is that, sometimes you'll ask me or say, you've mentioned that a few times recently, like what's going on? Like, I don't know.
Like the other night, whenever you asked me if I had, so we have a 2-story house, and Paul had asked me if I had slept on the downstairs
guest bedroom.
Yeah. And I had. And what'd you say after I said that?
Did you sleep alone? I was kind of half joking, but half not. And then something else came up. But, because it's being super vulnerable. We've been in that situation before.
We have an LP full honest with you, and I haven't told you this before, but there are times when like I'll drive by our house and the worst fear in my mind would be to see you there and then to walk in and somebody else is with you. That is one of my biggest fears. Mm-hmm. Not that I think that you're going to do that. It's just one of those things, like I love you so much. We've gone through all the shit in the world, all the crap. We've treated each other like crap many times. It's amazeballs that we're here today where we're at. And I think that those feelings are kind of good because we want to keep this together and we want to continue to grow.
Absolutely.
It's not that we're not.
We put a lot of sweat and hard work and all the things into it, but not just for that reason, but I love you.
I know you do. I understand why. It's understandable.
Because you love Harry Potter so much.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's because we have Harry Potter tattoos together.
I know. Always.
So 5 through 8. Apparently that's where a lot of things can go wrong. And like I said before, like the average divorce is at 8, which is why I'm not going to talk about years 9 through 10. I know this was How to Lose a Marriage in 10 Years, but from what I read, the reason I didn't do years 9 and 10 is because usually divorce takes a year or 2.
Oh, yeah. Well, it can take more than that, actually.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, my parents went through divorce, and that took a really long time. I think that was 4 years. It was a long time.
Yeah, which sucks.
Not a fun experience.
No, I'm sorry for anybody that goes through that. And then, so then some things, good news, everybody. I know we've been kind of Debbie Downing here, but after the 10-year mark, the lower the divorce risk goes each subsequent year.
Oh.
Yeah, so...
Woo!
Yeah, woo!
We're in the home stretch.
We haven't said, Paul and I, 17 years. We were married in 2005. 7/10, 2005. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And this
almost 18 years together.
Yeah.
Are we in October yet? Almost. So in like a month, we'll be 18 years together.
That's what I mentioned because one of our listeners said that her and her husband had been together for 7 years before. And, like I've mentioned in past episodes that we got engaged after, 7 to 10 days.
Couple of weeks. Yeah.
I didn't want to lose you. And I knew if you realized what kind of dipshit I really was, then you would have been running for the hills. But that is good news that it seems like the more you go on, the more you get to know each other. And I think that is a cool thing. I think that's part of us. We've gone through so much bad that we have had so many good conversations and really opened up to each other. And I don't think there's anything that we can't say to each other now. I think it is important as to how you say it and what you say. People skills is what I say to Paula all the time.
Which when he says people skills, he means my tone. Because sometimes my tone sounds like mom tone, or how else would you describe it?
Yeah, I don't like mom tone because you're not my mom.
Right. So and I hate it when he says, okay, mom. So I'm like, okay, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's plenty of things that I could do that would make it seem like I'm your father, I guess.
I'm like, maybe, okay, Dad, thanks.
Maybe not that much, but...
No, you learn how to communicate. You learn how to talk to each other. Tone, communication, say actually how you're feeling instead of just... there's so many things at least but it's still hard. Like I still sometimes struggle to say how I'm feeling or what's going on, but eventually it comes out. But I mean, we just know each other so well now that it's like, you can tell when something's off or whatnot. And I think sometimes I'll be like, okay, I need to talk to you about something. And I feel like when I say that, sometimes I tend to scare you, or you're like, okay, give it to me. Like, I think sometimes you think for like the worst.
Well, that's only because we have had the worst.
We have had the worst. You're like, okay,
and it's been a long time.
Is it? But yeah,
it's been a long time. But sometimes you still have that in the back of your mind. So I've said too much. the reason we did this episode wasn't to sound like know-it-alls or pros. It's to talk about everyday stuff, our experience. And, hopefully this is something that I'm sure everybody has gone through. I can't imagine that there has ever been a married couple that had no problems at all. If there is, kudos to you, but I think that is the abnormal way about it. It's crazy to me. So I guess,
think that also for us, having the girls has made our marriage stronger. I mean, there's been times like with parenting that it is difficult, and that can definitely be hard. So you want to try to be at a strong state in your marriage, strongish state in your marriage, I think, when you have kids, because that's helpful. But I personally think that the girls have really saved us several times.
I think so too, and we've said that before too, but I don't think that's the case a lot of times.
No, I agree. I'm just saying for us. I'm just saying for us personally.
Well, you're right, and I'm glad you said it, because I think kids can divide a lot of parents. Maybe you should look at it more kind of what's happened with us, to where it's made it a great thing, and it's made us more responsible and have more of a common goal. And then you start to build all of that around it. You start to build your relationship, and you realize that you're there for your children, but your children are there because of you. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, which brings it back to the both of us, which means I think that maybe not this weekend, but soon we need to schedule a date night.
Okay.
This is kind of like a date night.
This is our date hour.
It is kind of fun because we actually get to talk. There's so many times that like you'll come home from coaching or whatever, and I have like a list in my head, or sometimes I will literally write them down or put them in my phone because I'll forget. And I'm just like, okay, I need to tell you these things.
Yeah, because during the day I'm checked out.
Yeah.
So this is the only time. It's like I have everything to do, and you do too, but you have every hour from 6 in the morning till 6 at night planned. So this is one of those moments. So
yeah, and
I guess what we're saying,
it's just the phase that we're in right now.
I guess we're saying every married couple start a podcast. Do that so you get to talk to your spouse.
So what happens once the girls are a little bit older and, we're not coaching them anymore and we have more time? Then what?
We get to do all the things that we did before we had them, except now we're older and more experienced and not as stupid.
Older and wiser, is that what you're saying? Older and wiser.
I think there is something to it.
All right. So I'm just going to have like blinders.
Blinded by the light. So that's it. That is How to Lose a Marriage in 10 Years. Some of our experiences. Once again, we appreciate you reaching out on Facebook. That was really cool today, when I did the post, and there were so many people that responded. I love
that's awesome.
that. That's what we're looking for. That's so cool. Build that community. I've said it many times.
Chad was smiling from ear to ear. He said it like, I'm not even exaggerating, 5 to 10 times. I'm so excited about all of the posts, so
I am,
because you made his day.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I mean, we're not making money off this. It's our hobby,
fun,
and we love it, and we appreciate you guys, and it's awesome. And continue to reach out and find us on Facebook and Instagram, and
like and
subscribe. Please tell your friends, tell your family if you're liking what we're doing. Tell them what's going on. That's the way that we grow. Days Go By podcast.com is our website. We'll have blogs on there too. If you have anything, we've said this before, if you have any questions, anything you want us to talk about, then reach out and find us on all the ways that you normally listen to your podcast. Anything else, Mrs. Day?
No, thank you. Thank you for listening, everyone. And until next time.
Peace out.
Bye.